Rockstar gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, as always, please make sure you pound that like button on your way in, on your way out, whatever the case may be, ladies and gentlemen. All right, whatever works best for you. Man, another heartbreaker, man. Just another heartbreaker. Good Lord, you know. When does this team learn how to capitalize on the opportunities? I keep saying that I've said that for the past 3 games that we've lost, right? All close games, all good teams. And I've been saying it. I'm like, when does this team learn how to win football games and when the opportunities there? When do they learn how to close? Right? When does Dave Canales stop being so conservative? Exactly, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't get it. Hey, shout out to everyone in the chat, man. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Normally we're live at 8 or 8:30, but I was able to get on early, so I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's roll with it. Let's get on live now. Let's do it. So tonight we're live a little bit earlier. Make sure you share the live stream. Make sure you share it to your mother, your sister, your father, your grandmother, all of them. Let them know who the Ropp Star is, especially if they're Carolina Panthers fans. And
these nuts.
Yeah, these nuts. Just kidding. Everyone in the chat, we got Julian, Jeff R, we got Ropp. Shout out to all y'all in the chat, man. Julian, what's up, man? Appreciate you. Let's get to the comments real quick. Jeff R says we're ready to compete. We're not ready to win. Let's have a good draft. Next year, we will win all these close games. I expect to win the division next year. Jeff R, that's a lot of expectations. I don't expect to win the division. Again, I just want to see progress. I want to compete, though, in this division. That's what I want. I want us to be fighting for the division title, right? At least that would be my expectations next year. All right. It all depends on how this team drafts and in free agency, what this team can do moving forward. Rob Walk, what's up, man? Domo Smith, what's good? Antonio McClellinham. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. I think I hit that right on the nail on the head, Antonio. McClellinham. I think I got it right. Like, subscribe, share the stream, please. Yeah, please do that. Final Boss, what's up, man? Appreciate you joining. Man, if we could pull off these last 3 games, we'd be tied for the division right now. It's crazy. It's so crazy to think that. Shout out to Clay. Appreciate that, Rock. Rock, you ready for that? You ready for the Citrus Bowl against Illinois down in Orlando in Camping World Stadium, which is the trashiest fucking stadium in probably college football. The final hype around this team would have been insane right now. Yep. 336 Boston comes in and says Dave went for almost every 4th down and called all passes on the final drive. That's not conservative. No, I'm not talking about those plays, 336. Just about certain play calling. Just certain play calling. Not necessarily in the big time moments on the 4th downs. Just some other play calling that I just wasn't too impressed with that I feel like he can improve on. Again, guy's a rookie head coach. I'm giving him listen. For our first-year head coach, he got us more wins than Frank Wright did. So I got to give him props where props is due. My boys, good game. Nothing too hard to take. Nothing to take out of the Eagles. Nah. It's crazy. Would you be interested in drafting Cans in the 2nd or 3rd if he's still around? So we have a 1-2 punch. I mean, I know you're talking about Scatterbo out of Arizona State. Again, I'm not looking at the running back room, man. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be fine where he's at. There does come a good question now with Jonathan Brooks re-tearing his ACL. And we're going to dive into that. Gamecocks were picked over Bama and Ole Miss for Citrus Bowl, as they should be. They're a hot team right now. Nobody wants them in the playoff, Rock, because they don't want to play them. They don't want to play us. Guys, as you're coming in, make sure you pound that like button. I'll make sure to get to some of your guys' comments. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Let's dive right into this bad boy. All right, let's get right into it. No, we're gonna put myself. We'll put myself. I don't know. I still don't. I'm not sure. Unsure about this view. I might just put myself over here to the right hand side and just leave myself here. Never I saw. I say this, but Bryce is sneaky good, dude. He's ice cold in the big moments. He has big time throws, man. Big time throws. Top. He's in that category once again for big time throws. So he's right up there with some big name quarterbacks, Jeff R. So Andy Brown, what's good, man? If we go 4-13 or 2-15 next year, will you draft? If you were a GM, would you draft Bryce replacement? Yeah, Neo, I would. Like if we go like 4-13 or if we go through this same season, same cycle of just mediocrity with Bryce Young, yeah, I definitely look into getting a quarterback in that next draft. And I think because this next draft class, not this one, not the 2025, but the 2026, I think you're going to have a better draft class there to draft a quarterback. I hope Bryce pans out so we don't have to do that, Neo. That is the ultimate goal here because of the investment we gave him and also how much it would set us back. But right now, the way I'm seeing it is obviously Bryce is here for the long haul until proven otherwise. And he's continued to prove every week in and week out, continues to be one of the clutchest big-time throwers in the NFL. He's had back-to-back weeks being up there in big-time throw rates, and he's up there in the top 5 with big-name quarterbacks. So, you got to give him his flowers when it comes to that. And we'll talk more about his performance here shortly. Bryce has that Mahomes magic when he scrambles. I think Dave Canales is just playing to his strengths at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I think Dave Canales has put a game plan around Bryce Young that fits his strengths, and that's what we're seeing. What's up, T Green? Appreciate you joining. Let's get right into it. Carolina Panthers, moral victories, painful reality checks. What do y'all think about that? Right? Because we got to cut the bullshit. Like the Panthers are becoming more. They're becoming more of those teams, man, that they're just becoming experts at losing. Like, it's not that I'm upset with the loss. It's just that I'm tired of the heartbreakers. Like, this is the third straight game they came with inches of victory, right? Only for a late game mistake or a critical drop to send them home as losers. And this 22-16 loss to Philadelphia is just another gut punch to me for a team that seems perpetually stuck in almost, right? Like, you could call this another moral victory or many of those. Do you need, though, how many more of those do you need before it just starts feeling like it's failure? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Yeah, we are favored. What's up, Make True Money? Appreciate you. Calm Bread says, yo, finally made it live again. Bryce had a turnaround that is nothing short of remarkable. I was hoping we would be our franchise guy, and he lost a lot of my faith and has earned it back. There you go. I want to win now. It's fine with the moral victory against Kansas City, but this is getting old. Let's finish the game, win. Yep. Seeing XL drop the game winner sure did make the burn a little worse. Yeah, I mean, again, that's why I'm saying, like, when do these moral victories that we're playing these close games with these good teams like Tampa Bay, Kansas City, now, you got the Eagles. Like, when does this stop feeling like it's a failure? Like, you can't sugarcoat this anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're not a good football team. It is what it is. Let's just call it what it is. We are not a good football team. But this is a big but that we're also not the outright disaster the way we were earlier this season. And I will say that confidently. Something is brewing in Charlotte, North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen. And you got to look at Bryce Young, your quarterback, is at the center of it. Whether you love him, whether you hate him, you are still decided. There's no denying that he's been a bright spot in a team that desperately needs a reason for hope. Right? Desperately needed for hope. This was a game of missed opportunities. Again, the Eagles are a team with championship DNA. They are a disciplined, talented football team. That is what the Philadelphia Eagles are. They are built to punish teams like us. Yet on Sunday, they left that door wide ass open enough for us to even make it interesting. Philadelphia leaned too heavily on the pass. Like, they handed the ball to Saquon Barkley only like 20 times, despite him averaging 6.2 yards per carry. That made mistakes, giving the Panthers a chance to hang around. They hang around thanks to Bryce Young, whether y'all believe that or not. Bryce Young's the reason why we were in this game. He's been in the reason why we've been in these last 3 games. And the 2 that we won was because of him. They made mistakes. Philadelphia did. But Bryce, as a sophomore quarterback, played one of the most composed games of the season once again. He navigated pressure very well. He kept the Panthers competitive until really that final minute. Once again, though, Ropp became the villain in Bryce Young's story. We continue to see drops after drops after drops. Now, the Thielen one compared to this Xavier Legette one's a different story. But Xavier Legette was wide open and dropped a perfectly thrown. I don't care what anybody says. You can go watch that play 100 times. It's a perfectly thrown ball. Yes, he has to die for it, but it's still a perfectly thrown ball for him to do that. It's almost like a possession catch in that kind of ordeal, but not really. It's a 32-yard touchdown pass, and it's perfectly thrown, and he floated it up perfectly. That would have sealed that game completely. The moment was emblematic of what our season has been, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we get these glimmer of hope by just frustrating inability to execute when it matters most. Like, is Bryce a bust no more? That's another question we got to start asking ourselves, because, and I'll talk more about his performance here shortly, but he has been called a lot of things: a bust, a disappointment, a wasted pick. And early in the season, those criticisms felt justified after an abysmal rookie year. Right? You can't deny that. Like, Young looked like he was heading down that same path. But over the last 5 weeks, he continues to prove me wrong. Because I'm one of the doubters. I'm just giving the guy his flowers. I should make a shirt. I'm a doubter, but I give him his flowers. That's an absolute bar. That's an absolute bar. You know what I mean? Like, the stats, they still kind of suck. Like, the completion percentage is mid. His yardage is low. He hasn't thrown for multiple touchdowns in a game since week 6. But stats don't tell the whole story. Like, Young's growth isn't showing up on paper; it's showing up on the field. He's throwing more accurate passes under pressure. He's delivering in clutch moments. I got it. That's where I'm giving his credit. He's showing the kind of poise you want from a franchise guy. But if these receivers could actually catch the damn ball, we'd have an entirely different conversation. The drop touchdown pass on Sunday. If Legette catches that, you know what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen? If Xavier Legette catches that ball, do you know what we're talking about? We're talking about how Bryce Young led a game-winning drive against one of the best teams in the league. Instead, we're stuck debating his future once again. Here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you like it or not, Bryce Young isn't perfect. Far from it. But I'm going to tell you right now, that man has shown enough progress to earn his shot next year for me. I'm willing to give it another shot. I told you I'm willing to give it to mid-November of next year. And let's see. And if he's out by mid-November next year and we're continuing to see no progress, not elevating this team, not seeing him elevate his game based off of what we're seeing now, you got to think about it this way. Calling him a project might sound like an insult, but that's what he is. Because as a project, he's coming along nicely. Like, the Panthers have too many other issues to waste resources on replacing him. Fix the offensive line. You did that. Fixing the receivers core. You tried to do that. You had to trade Deontay Johnson because he's a fucking head case. And then you got rookies stepping up. The biggest thing for this team now is fixing the defense, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest. If Xero Evero's here next year, you got to give this guy some pass rushers and a true nose tackle. But Bryce Young, at this point right now, I think he's the least of our problems. I think he's the least of our problems. Marcos Cash was good. Yeah, these guys got to have better hands, man. My coach, when I played in football in high school, I used to have this coach. You better get your beaters right. That's what he called my hands, my beaters, when I was playing safety and corner. He said, Ropp, you better get your beaters right. What do you think that means? Your beaters. That's why he called them beaters. Calls your hands beaters. I was like, it took me forever to figure that out when I was in high school. So these these wide receivers here in Carolina need to get their beaters right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so just, but you got to make light of the situation a little bit, right? Like, again, this loss marks the Panthers' third straight almost win. Like, a streak that is as frustrating as it is encouraging. Like, they've gone toe-to-toe with the Eagles. They went toe-to-toe with Kansas City. They should have beat Tampa Bay, right? They should have beat Kansas City. They should have beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But this team had no big business competing with those three teams on paper, if we're really being honest. These games were written off as losses before the season even started. Yet, Carolina was in both of them until the final minutes. It's easy to push these close games off as flukes. But let's not forget this. This is the same team that got annihilated by the Denver Broncos just a few weeks ago. And the fact that they're losing close games to the Eagles instead of getting blown out by the likes of Denver, that is a sign of progress and painfully maddening progress. Like, fans' confidence against all odds is crazy. Like, there's a lot of shocking fans out here, and the Panthers is at a season high at 83%. Like, the fan confidence in the Panthers at a season high right now at 83%. That's up from a pathetic 17% after week one disaster. Why the hell are fans feeling good about a team on a two-game losing streak? Well, now a 3-game losing streak. It's because of Bryce Young. Because he's winning the fans back with his steady improvement. It's giving people a reason to believe in this team's direction. Now, the preseason confidence was like 79%. So the fact that it's now higher despite a losing record, it speaks volume about how much fans are buying into this kid's development. And of course, It's not just Bryce Young. It's the team as a whole looks better. They're still losing, but they're losing to top-tier teams by slim margins. And for a fan base that's seen way too many blown outs, that's progress. You know what I mean? Like JJ up 23. In high school, drops were inexcusable. Granted, NFL's different. Well, it should be the same way, man. When I had a coach in my face saying, Ropp, you better get your beaters right. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's not a lot around here, Treybo. There's not a lot around here. This is true. Make true money. We did. That's just the way it is, man. Get them likes up. Appreciate that, Marcos Cash. Get them up, ladies and gentlemen. But again, we aren't a playoff team. Not this year anyway. They're still flawed. They're a rebuilding squad. With a ton of holes to fill, but they're no longer that dumpster fire that they were at the start of the season. I think something's coming together in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think Bryce is the center of it. I think this team needs to clean up its act. The drops is unacceptable. The penalties, it's infuriating. The special teams, don't even get me started. But if they can fix these issues, and they're minor issues, this team could be worth watching in 2024. Now, next week, we face the Dallas Cowboys. This is another chance to prove they're not just about moral victories. Fans are sick of almost. It's a time for the Panthers to finish the damn job. Okay. Jonathan Brooks, ladies and gentlemen, retore his ACL. I mean, this kid can't seem to catch a break, man. And neither can, and neither can we, like, as a team. Because just weeks after we finally made his long-awaited NFL debut, he's torn his ACL in his right knee once again. And Dave Canales came out today and confirmed that the devastating news today announced that the 21-year-old will miss the rest of the season. Like, this is a major gut punch. This is another ACL, same damn knee. This is the second time he has shredded the ACL in his right knee. The first injury came back in November 2023. So it's barely been over a year. During his college days at Texas, sidelined for over a year. It was a brutal blow back then, and now it's happening again. Barely 3 games in his NFL career. Yesterday in this game, gets carted off the field in the first quarter after his first and only carry of the game. Didn't even get a chance to settle in before disaster struck. It's cruel. It's unfair. It's a brutal reminder of just how unforgiving football is. The Panthers knew taking a risk when they traded up for this guy, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens when you take risk. And they took a major risk. When you went to trade up for this guy with the 46th overall pick in that 2024 NFL draft. Everyone knew he wouldn't be ready for spring workouts. He spent most of the offseason rehabbing instead of practicing. Still rolled the dice, betting that his talent and potential would be worth the wait. Let's not sugarcoat this. This bet has backfired spectacularly. And I hate to say that. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. Like, Brooks has barely got his feet wet in the NFL. Just 22 rushing yards on 9 carries over 3 games. Now, he showed flashes of burst and talent that made him a standout at Texas, but now you're left with a massive hole in this backfield and a glaring question about the future of their investment. Now, Canales confirmed that Brooks will need surgery. He's going to have to repair the damage once again. He's 21-year-old, back-to-back with ACL tears on the same knee. That is a nightmare scenario. You're recovering from one ACL tear. It's tough enough. You're doing it twice in such a short span of time is a whole different level of hell. This isn't just a physical grind, it's a mental war. Rehabbing a second ACL tear requires an almost superhuman level of focus and resilience for a player whose game truly depends on explosiveness and cutting and the ability of and those abilities. Then you also got to think about the stakes are even higher for him now. Now, here's the thing. Can Brooks come back from this? Maybe. But it's very rare when you see someone had the same injury in the same location, especially an ACL, as hard as it is already to come back from that once. The history of players recovering from multiple ACL tears isn't exactly encouraging. It's not. Like I don't know where we go. Where do you go from here with this kid? Like, again, we've already been a disaster of a season, but you were hoping to see some more potential out of this kid. You losing Brooks is definitely a deepened hole here. The offense, which has been what at the beginning of the year has been floundering until Dalton came in, had that nice little resurgence, and then absolutely fell off the map, and then had the car accident. Then Bryce Young comes in, and now he's having his resurgence. But for this guy, they're back to square one. And they're going to have to reevaluate their strategy, their entire strategy at the position heading into the 2025. Now, do they double down on Brooks and hope he can somehow bounce back? Or do they start looking for his replacement now? And either in free agency or this draft? That's a brutal decision for a franchise who's already struggling to find any footing in a dismal season. Honestly, I think that you do what the Jets took 2 running backs last year. They took Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. And I told you guys last year, don't sleep on Isaiah Davis. And I told you guys last year that Braylon Allen will be a great running back in the NFL, which he probably will be, but he's sitting behind Breece Hall. This is a total different ball game for Brooks. I mean, I see people in the chat say Thomas Davis did it, but you also got to think this guy is cutting. He's making cuts through lines. He's got to be explosive out of the backfield. Here's the harsh reality for that, though. The injury could be career altering. Y'all don't understand that. Running backs don't get a lot of time to prove themselves in the NFL. This is a second ACL tear, puts him in a crossroads before his career's even begun. This league doesn't wait for anyone. The hard truth is that Brooks is now fighting just to keep his NFL dream alive. Because for the Panthers, it's yet another slap in the face during a season of full of those. This was supposed to be the year of building and hope, and it's turned into some hope, but then some of it's turned into a goddamn circus of bad luck and bad breaks. Listen, I hope Brooks can defy the odds, come back stronger, but let's not sugarcoat this. This is a brutal blow for him and for us as a franchise. And I hope that if anything can go right, that it's Bryce Young that pans out. And I do hope that Jonathan Brooks fully recovers and somehow can come back to be even show us some of that potential we saw in Texas. You know what I mean? Turbo Tony, what up? Appreciate you doing it, man. Yes, he does, Turbo Tony. Matt Chatter, what's good? Jalen Carter was a first-round pick, Matt Chatter. Hate that for him. Draft Rocket Sanders. Wouldn't be, hey, Rock, you could probably get him in the late rounds. I don't think he's going to be a high draft pick. You probably could pick him up in the later rounds. Rocket Sanders would be nice for this team. He would. I'd be okay with it. Also, I've always liked Braylon Allen. I told y'all last year. And I told y'all not this my sleeper last year. If y'all go rewatch some of my draft choices last year, I hit some nail on the head on some of those, ladies and gentlemen. I hit some of those nails on that head with some of my draft content last year. And be ready for that this upcoming season. We're going to do a lot of draft content this year. So be ready for that. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, do me a favor. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content either, all right? I would greatly appreciate that. Whether you're watching on Twitch or Twitter, make sure you come on over to the YouTube channel, and that's the best way you can show your support here. First round pick can't catch. Second round pick has a busted knee. I mean, listen, it's a perfectly thrown ball for Leggett. It's a tough catch to make. That's a tough catch to make. You know, I feel for Xavier Leggett. Listen, he's a rookie, and these things are gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. These things are gonna happen. Now, how did Bryce Young become so elusive? He was a statue for a year and a half. Well, sometimes things change. Things change, man. But things change, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's move on. Hold on. I'm getting my get some things set up here. Again, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're live on TikTok. I haven't done TikTok live in a while. So I figured, why not? Why not? Let's get into the breakdown of this game, though, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the breakdown of this game. Guys, if you're on TikTok, make sure you go to my link tree in my bio. Go check it out. Appreciate you guys. Hold on 1 second. I might have to set up the TikTok on something else, but it's all good. If they can hear me, they can hear me. It's all good. What do you think is more of a bigger need now, either wide receiver, edge, or from seeing yesterday's game? I still think edge rusher is a need. I mean, wide receiver is definitely a need as well. I just think that, Matthew, you got to look at it from a stat standpoint, man. the Carolina Panthers are one of the worst run defenses in the league. Like if Ejiro Evero stays here for another year, you have to think about bringing in. You got to think about getting another edge rusher. You got to think about getting in a true nose tackle. Like you can't expect them to continue to go out here and hope that DJ Wanham and Jadeveon Clowney are going to help put pressure on those, on the quarterback. That's just not how it works. That's just not how it works with this team. You got to bring in some young talent to develop. And that's what we need to do. Definitely edge rusher. I think this is a major year for Carolina to honestly really bring in talent from the draft and free agency. That's what you got to hammer. All right, let's get into this four quarters breakdown. I guess this is something. What did I say I'll do? I'll sing a song. Yeah, I'm not singing no damn song. I'm just messing. All right, let's get into this four quarter breakdown. So in the first quarter, ladies and gentlemen, they open up with some promise, a quick pass. Obviously, it was a quick pass to Chuba Hubbard. And then they ran I think it was a first, and then they ran it and then got the first down. But it has been the case all season. Consistency is this team's kryptonite. Like you got 3 straight incompletions led to an early punt wasting momentum they had in this game. Thankfully, the defense came to play. They faced a notoriously slow starting Eagles offense. The Panthers defense forced a punt on a Philadelphia's first drive. Obviously, thanks in part to a clutch sack from Josie Jewell, and it was a strong response. And it set the tone for a defense that would have to work overtime to keep this team in the league. Like, offensively, though, the same old story on this in that first quarter. A couple of decent runs from Chuba Hubbard were immediately erased by a third down sack. And then even when Johnny Hecker pinned the Eagles deep, the special teams let the ball roll into the end zone, negating any field position advantage. It was just sloppy. And that's what it was. Like, then you finally got to start thinking, you start finding a rhythm. Right? Bryce Young starts finding a rhythm. He connects with Adam Thielen in that first quarter. He sets up the field goal. And any momentum the Panthers might have gained evaporated when Jonathan Brooks went down for that injury. Now the offense stalled and they settled for 3 points. And just like that, the quarter ended with the Eagles knocking on the door. So, the second quarter, the Eagles started the second quarter with that drive. You remember they were showcasing their identity on that drive in the second quarter. Just hard-nosed football. They were stuffing the goal line once, and Philly pulled out their signature. I call it the brotherly shove to punch it in. And it was demoralizing, but I expected it. Like the Panthers defense had bit just enough to break. Bryce Young has to get credit, though. Bryce Young, to his credit, did not back down on that ensuing drive in the second quarter. He converted that pair of crucial third down long plays. He hit Thielen, David Moore to keep the chains moving. And then inside the 10-yard line, disaster almost struck when Young was stepped on by his own lineman during a handoff attempt, right? And that play blew up. And the head coach, Dave Canales, he finally showed some guts and went forward on fourth down. Found Tommy Trimble in that flat. He threw a flat route right there for a touchdown, put Carolina back I think it was like on top. We were 10-7. And then our defense responded. They forced another punt. And then the Panthers had 3 minutes, I think it was. I think it was 3 minutes and to extend their lead. So there's always there was so many things to start to unravel here through that first and second quarter of this game. Like Young made his worst throw of the day when he sailed that duck over Thielen's head into the hands of Gardner Johnson. So the Eagles capitalized. They marched down the field, and they capped the drive with a touchdown to Devontae Smith. And suddenly it was 14-10, leading or heading into halftime, and the Panthers had all too familiar sinking feeling. And then then we go into halftime. We're down 14-10, go into this third quarter, and there was just missed opportunities in the third quarter, ladies and gentlemen. Like, missed opportunities, missed singles, right? The Eagles came out at halftime. They were determined to assert themselves on the ground, leaning heavily on Saquon Barkley to wear down the Carolina's defense. They chewed up clock, moved the ball effectively, and Jake Elliott missed that field goal to keep the Panthers. Really just kept us alive with him when he missed that field goal. So then you capitalize. Young goes out there, capitalizes on another drive, right? Showed flashes of his potential. He found Thielen again to move the Panthers into Eagles territory. Then they made a gutsy play on 4th and short. They scrambling and extending the drive with a ridiculous pass to Thielen, who hauled it in. It actually hauled it in off a deflection. And Young nearly had his jersey ripped off on another scramble that took the Panthers to the 1-yard line. So then you got to think where Hubbard actually eventually then punched it in for that touchdown. And then, of course, Eddie Pinheiro had to screw something up once again, missed the extra point, and then we had like a clinging lead to 16-14. So defensively, the Panthers kept fighting. They sacked Jalen Hurts on a key third down. They forcing a punt. Then you head into the fourth quarter, right? We were in an unfamiliar position in fourth quarter. We were actually leading against a Super Bowl caliber football team, right? Now, the fourth quarter, that's where things kind of got collapsed, ladies and gentlemen. That's where things kind of collapsed, all right? So you got to think about it this way. It was just all too predictable. It all fell apart. All right, the Eagles scored early in the quarter after Barkley hurt and Hurts did most of the heavy lifting. And Elliott missed the extra point, but a mind-numbing offsides penalty gave Philly another chance. Like, they converted a two-point conversion, go up 22-16. And the Panthers had a chance to answer, and their offense stalled in the Eagles' territory. It was just a poorly designed rub route on the 4th and short. It was sniffed out by the Eagles defense, turning the ball over on downs. The defense, to their credit, kept the team alive. They blew up a quick pass attempt, sacked Hurts to force a punt, and the stage, and then they were finally setting the stage for one final drive. So they backed up at their own 2-yard line. Young delivered his most impressive series of the day. He kept pressure on that play. He uncorked a deep ball to Xavier Legette, and he actually held on. You thought he actually held on to it this time, and then a few short passes got them to the midfield. They clocked was clicking down to 2 minutes. 4th and long, hits Thielen to keep the drive alive. And then with the game on the line, he throws that absolute dime to Legette in the end zone, a perfectly thrown under immense pressure throw. And then Legette drops the ball. You know? Good game, Michael. Shout out to the Eagles, man. I mean, they're the better team. They're a Super Bowl caliber team. You know what I mean? We also had a delay game the right after that drop pass by Leggett, but the next play killed whatever hope we had left, and the final attempt fell incomplete. It was game over. It's just, again, that's why it's like these moral victories. When do you start considering moral victories failures? Right? This game was just another frustrating chapter in the Panthers season. And yes, there are signs of progress. The defense played well against one of the league's best offenses, and Bryce Young showed real poise under pressure. But moral victories, again, just don't count for shit in the NFL. They just don't. Like, Young's numbers weren't great. I don't think they were great. But because how they can be when your receivers drop winning passes, he did enough to win the game. That's the thing. But the same can't be said for guys like Xavier Leggett, who now has 3 drops on crucial plays in the last 2 games. His shaky hands and lack of awareness are becoming a glaring liability. And it's something the Panthers need to address immediately. Special teams, again, it's a disaster. Piñeiro's missing extra points. That's inexcusable. And don't get me started on the penalties that gave the Eagles extra chances. Like, that's not on the Eagles, that's on us. The reality is that the Panthers are just not good enough to overcome these mistakes. Like, even when the opportunity is there, you got to learn how to close games. That's what separates good teams from the bad. They're able to close on the opportunities. They're like Edge. It's like Edge from WWE, Mr. Opportunistic. He was able to close those. He was able to close and get the championships. That's the way I like to compare it to someone who can close the deal. Right? But they've shown they can, the Panthers have shown that they can hang with top teams like the Eagles and Chiefs. But until they clean up the drops, the penalties and the inconsistencies, they're going to keep finding ways to lose. And you got the Cowboys next week coming to town. I mean, let's just hope we can figure it out. Because the Cowboys are 5-7. They're still a decent football team, but there's no telling what's going to happen next week against a team like that. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream, whether you're watching on TikTok, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on Twitch, or whether you're watching on the YouTube channel. All right. I appreciate everyone in here. Whoa. Hold on. Shit. Fuck. I did not mean to do that. That's right. I did not mean to do that. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Did not mean to invite it. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea what happened. Something was lagging there, folks. Something happened there. Let's talk about Bryce Young's performance. Let's talk about Bryce Young's performance. Let's not mince words. Like, Bryce Young's Week 14 outing against the Philadelphia Eagles was a gut check. Like, that's the kind of game where you either sink under the pressure or you claw your way up, right? You're proving you belong. All right, I see everybody in the chat here. Hold on one second. Tyler Calhoun says, well, Matthew Machado says if we had Brown and Thompson, how would have the defense looked against the Eagles offense? Well, those are two players, man. I mean, one player, you're talking about one player who is washed, could be washed, and you're talking about an elite player that we lost, right? Again, Leggett cost me a parlay. I had Bryce for 212.5. Damn, that sucks. Dom34, what's good, man? Appreciate you joining the live stream. Smash that like, hit that subscribe button. Yes, sir. Moral victories are not enough. No, they're not. Underground Rest, what's good, man? Appreciate you joining. Rock Jones, we're finding ways to win against America's team. We're gonna find ways again. So you think we're gonna find ways to obviously win against the Dallas Cowboys? But we'll see. We'll see. But Bryce Young, man, let's get back to him for a second. Let's talk about Bryce Young for a second, right? He did come out looking like the quarterback that the Carolina Panthers built around him. But still, again, it's these moral victories are like participation trophies in the NFL. They don't mean shit when you start 1-10, right? When you're starting at a 1-10 record. Like, there's the good, there's the bad, and there is the unfortunate ugly from Young's performance in this loss, right? There's no sugarcoating, there's no fluff. There's just hard truths when it comes to this, all right? Now, Bryce Young's mobility in this game, to me, against the Philadelphia Eagles was a major bright spot. Like, defensive line isn't here to play nice. They're relentless, violent, damn good at ruining a quarterback's afternoon. That's what the Philadelphia Eagles are. But Bryce knew what he was going out against, right? He had he wasn't going out to get the luxury of clean pockets, right, in this game. He leaned into something the Panthers fan haven't seen enough of him, and that's his mobility, right? Young scrambled, he extended plays, and he navigated collapsed pockets like a guy who actually wants to survive behind this offensive line. He doesn't have the stature of Jalen Hurts or the raw explosiveness of a Lamar Jackson. But what he does have, I think, is the knack for finding enough space to make something happen. He's also trusting his legs more, which is crucial, right? When you're playing behind a line that occasionally forgets the primary job is to block. So sure, he missed a couple of throws while on the move, but there were times when the Eagles front seven got to him anyways. But his ability to operate outside of structure, that's something he's steadily improving. Gave the Panthers a fighting chance. This is the kind of development that needs to become a regular part of the Carolina's offensive identity. But here's the thing. The execution of a budding partnership with Canales. You gotta give credit where credit's due. If we talk about Dave Canales for a second, the man benched Young early in the season, essentially telling the world this kid isn't ready. Now they're finally starting to speak our language because there's a growing trust between the two, and it shows in their play calling. I told you he's going to play to Bryce Young's strengths. That was the only way you were going to turn this around for the kid. They switched up the playbook to his strengths. So he's leaning into Bryce Young's strengths, designing plays that let him manage the game effectively. And no, it wasn't perfect. Hell, it was far from it. But the Eagles' defense is a juggernaut, man. Young didn't exactly carve them up, but the fact that Canales is letting him operate without coaching or micromanaging is a sign of progress. Now, the partnership is the foundation that the Panthers move forward if they can build on his trust. But over the final weeks of the 2024 into the next season, there's potential for real growth. And let's be clear, this will only work if the team stops treating the skill positions like an afterthought. So more on that in a second, but shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate everyone being in here. Shout out to TikTok. I don't go live very often, but maybe I'm going to start trying to. We'll start trying to go live more on TikTok. But whether you guys are watching on Twitch or Twitter or YouTube or TikTok, the best way you can show your support to me is follow me on all my socials, or of course, go check me out on YouTube. YouTube is by far my biggest platform. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream tonight. Just talk about some Carolina Panthers football. If you're into NFL content or Carolina Panthers content, that's the shit that you like. Well, you're in the right place. So I appreciate everyone in here. So let's continue to talk about Bryce Young. All right, continue to talk about Bryce Young. So there was one costly mistake that changed everything in this game, though. Because for all the progress he showed in this game, right, one bad decision can overshadow a lot of good things. A lot of good ones. Late in the first half, Young overthrew Adam Thielen, give the ball to the safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, through that interception, right? And then it was an unforced error in a game where Carolina couldn't afford any. And then the mistake then tainted what had been really a solid first half for Bryce Young. And he finished, I think, the half with, I think he had a touchdown, like 86 yards, 10 rushing yards at that point. And again, not mind-blowing stats, but respectable given the hostile environment that you're in Philadelphia and the fact that he was running for his life half of the time. So the interception, though, that was the kind of moment that reminds you that Young is still very much a work in progress, right? The Panthers were still, again, in a game at halftime, which is more than most people expected. But that pick loomed large as a reminder that the development comes with growing pains, and sometimes those pains cost you big. Bryce Young, but still, I think another thing is what we got to mention here is Bryce Young desperately needs a wide receiver one. Like, let's be honest, this receiving core isn't cutting it for him. Like, Adam Thielen is reliable. Sure, he's not a number one receiver anymore. He's the guy you want as a complementary piece, not as the main option, right? Xavier Leggett, first-round pick, has been maddeningly inconsistent, unfortunately. And his brutal drop on what should have been a game-winning touchdown pass in the final minute is Exhibit A, right? Young has shown flashes of brilliance. He's trying to make some magic with a group of receivers that wouldn't scare a high school secondary, if we're being honest. Like, general manager Dan Morgan needs to fix this. Like, now. Like, a legitimate wide receiver one isn't just a luxury. It's a necessity. Sorry. It's a necessity. So if this team wants to see what Young is truly capable of, you trade away Jonathan Mingo and Deontay Johnson, and now it does show a little bit, but not much. But it is definitely still a priority. Like, I think that they got to prioritize getting Young a real difference maker at the receiver this offseason, and see if he can elevate his game. Because right now, without a true number one wide receiver, you're really setting him up to continue to fail. Period. Point blank, period. Again, let's call it like it is. Bryce Young played well enough. To keep this Panthers team competitive against one of the best teams in the NFL. That's no small feat, especially when you consider the circumstances. He was on the road facing a ferocious defense with a patchwork group of receivers, a leaky offensive. In this game, the offensive line might have played their worst game. Might have. From a pressure rate standpoint. Even though they only allowed one sack. But this might be one of the worst games they played yet. And that's just, and I'm not saying it, and they still played like a top 10, but again, if you look at the pressure rates, it's a lot higher than it has been. It's been a lot higher than it has been. So, again, moral victories are for losers. The NFL doesn't hand out trophies for almost. Young gave the Panthers a shot, but when the chips were down, Leggett dropped the ball, and I mean that literally. And that's been the story of Carolina's season. A quarterback making strides, surrounded by a team that can't seem to get out of its own way. So where does this leave us? Again, I'm going to tell you all once, I'm going to tell you twice. Bryce Young isn't the problem in Carolina. He's not a finished product either. He's shown enough growth to justify giving him another shot in 2025. Now, the real problem is the team around him. The Panthers need to fix the wide receiver position. Give him some. I think they need a true number one wide receiver. I do like Jalen Coker. I think Xavier Leggett is having some growing pains. He is a rookie. Shadavion Sanders and Tommy Tremble seem to start. They're coming in their own, but Tommy Tremble's been helping in the passing game. But you got to figure out how to close out games. That's just plain and simple how it is. Like, Young isn't perfect. He's trending in the right direction. The question now is whether the Panthers front office can get their shit together and give him the support he needs. Because right now, the promise in the world doesn't mean a damn thing if the team continues to come up short. So let's talk about the offense. Let me see what the chat looks like right now. Let's see what the chat's saying right now. Let's see here. Could see a similar game versus Dallas. Yeah, you might. We're finding ways to win against. Well, okay. Tyler Calhoun comes in and says, it's cool. Thielen is our number one guy for the time being. Excel's developing into our number one guy. What's up, Brian? What's up? Let's see who else is in here. I can't even see. Might need to get some glasses. I like Excel as our deep threat and Coker as our number one. Yeah. I'm not worrying about an early quarterback, not or in free agency. Take one in the 7th round. You think you're going to find that in the 7th round? Another one of those? Dom 34. That's more like finding a gold mine in the rough, not a diamond. Bryce handled pressure well. Yeah, he does very well against under pressure. The loss is 100% on Leggett. Bryce delivered. I think it's a lot of mixed in the loss there. Canales definitely deserves some credit for sure. Don 34 actually played and made. I've kept hearing for the last few weeks, XL has some kind of injury to one of his hands or wrists. If so, he needs to get surgery stat. Interesting. I thought that just came up today, Kristen Butler. All right, let's get into this offense, man. Let's get into talk about some of this offense. I'll say this. In this game, Saquon Barkley was a problem. Everyone and their grandma knew he'd be the centerpiece of that Eagles offense. and he still couldn't be stopped, right? Barkley chewed out the Panthers for over 124 yards on 20 carries. Again, he reminded everyone why he's the offensive player of the year and probably the MVP candidate to win it this year. Now, Chuba Hubbard stepped up in this game, right? Hubbard was the heart of the Panthers offense, grinded out 92 yards and a touchdown, 26 carries. Fourth year back, hit the 1,000-yard milestone for the first time in his career. It's a bittersweet when your team sealed the deal. But yeah, from the offensive standpoint, I mean, Bryce Young did his thing. You got an 85.8 QBR rating, got a rating of a 69.6, only was sacked once out of 7 pressures. Again, the biggest mistake was Xavier Legette. Look, no one's saying it's easy to be a first-round pick in the NFL, but Legette repeated drops, including that what should have been a game-tying 32-yard touchdown in that late fourth quarter. So it was outright brutal. The only thing I'll have to say on the offense that I did not like in this game was the communication. It was still a disaster. It was 2 delay of game penalties, including one on that final drive. They're just inexcusable. You're burning a timeout because you can't get the snap out oftentimes makes no sense. Like, it's also inexcusable. That's basic ass stuff that good teams don't screw up in the NFL, right? Again, Josie Jewell on the defensive side, man. If you go look defensive side, Josie Jewell was the player of the game, MVP. Like, his energy, his leadership set the tone. I mean, he had a total of 10 tackles, 5 of them solo. He had 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. Right? J.C. Horn, 6 total tackles, 4 solo. Trevor Wallace, 6 tackles, 3 solo. Xavier Woods, 5 tackles, 4 solo. And another thing is, shout out to the defense, man. You had 4 sacks on Jalen Hurts, which the Carolina Panthers in the past couple weeks are starting to get pressure on the quarterback. That they're just starting to. So again, the defense has to be better, though. Again, when it comes to the run game, we're just allowing too much rushing yards, man. We're allowing teams to run the ball down our throats. And it's still a defensive issue there. But that's why we got to look forward to the free agency and the draft coming up next year. Like I said, the good in this game was Bryce Young did his thing. Chuba Hubbard's the real deal. Again, I think our defense showed some serious guts, but holding Jalen Hurts. I mean, you held Jalen Hurts to 108 passing yards, right? Which limited the Eagles to over 292 total yards. That's no small feat. So I will give the defense where the credit's due there. Again, just the offensive communication has to be better, right? That's it. Like, Dave Canales has to wear some of this. The team's inability to execute in key moments reflects directly on sideline leadership. So I have to give Dave Canales a little bit of shit on that part. But other than that, man, the Panthers are a scrappy team. They're a hungry team. I think they're still trying to figure out how to win. But this isn't exactly a league that rewards, like I said, doesn't exactly reward you for almost. Like, if they don't, again, we have to clean up our act. Especially with the offensive communication, the rookie mistakes. Like, they're going to stay into, we're going to, that stuff's going to happen. That's part of this frustrating cycle we're in. I think the Bryce Young and the defense are giving us a fighting chance because I think the defense is improving besides the run game. But the margins in the NFL are razor thin. One botch catch or one penalty or, one timeout can mean the difference between pulling off an upset and then hanging back to the locker room with another L. And that's exactly what happened here. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Let's get to some comments here. Jay Boogie says we just don't have that anchor in the middle. Yeah, not in the 3-4 defense. You need a true nose tackle, and we don't have it. Appreciate you, Jay Boogie. Appreciate you being here. Which Gamecock you want us to draft, Clay? Pick just one. If I had to pick one, it's Kyle Kennard. If I had to pick one Gamecock to pick for us to draft, it would be either Kyle Kennard or TJ Sanders. I wouldn't mind Amani Wari. I can't pronounce his last name, but the safety. He's another guy I would look into. Draft 2 wide receivers and a running back in the draft and a tight end. We good. Malik Harper. I'd say get another. I'm open to get another running back, and I'm open to get a wide receiver, but I don't think we need another tight end. We really need to hammer this defense. We really need to find if Ejiro Evero's here and we're still running a 3-4 defense, we gotta get some another true pass rusher, and we've got to get a true nose tackle. Again, a wise man once told me, and I'm a big believer in building up the trenches, but a wise man once told me, an elite pass rush can make a average secondary look good. So, again, do I think that getting a wide receiver to help out Bryce Young and giving him a true number one wide receiver would be beneficial? Absolutely, because it would help, I think, develop him even more. But you also got to think about that defense, man. You got to think about that defense. So, but I appreciate you, Malik. DC Gambler comes in and says corners did a good job on Eagles receivers. Yeah, I mean, you sacked Jalen Hurts 4 times and you only allowed him to throw 108 yards. That's the best game by these corners so far, especially against a good wide receiver core. And, you have Dotson, you got Devontae Smith, and you had J.J. Brown. So shout out to them, but they didn't really need to when you got Saquon Barkley able to pound it down your throat. I mean, that, when you can't stop the run, it normally opens up the pass, but we were able to shut that down, but we couldn't stop Saquon Barkley. And we couldn't, when we had the opportunities, we didn't close on those opportunities. And this team has to learn on how to close on opportunities. See, we're one of the youngest teams in the NFL. And coach and all. So, it's going to take time. So, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, if you're watching on TikTok, make sure you come and follow me also on all my socials. Make sure you go follow me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you go check me out on TikTok, Twitch, or Twitter. And if you're watching on Twitter, make sure you come check me out on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch. So make sure y'all come and check it out. All right. I'm going to get some more content out to you guys. Going to get some shorts out to you later on tonight. So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I appreciate everybody coming through here. And maybe I'll start going live more often on TikTok. I don't know. We'll see. But I appreciate everyone joining the live stream here on YouTube. Again, do me a favor. Smash the like button. Hit that subscribe button. That's the best way you can show your support. And as always, guys, keep pounding. Peace.